Hello viewers. Welcome to Seek Wisdom. Today we are with the summary of the book, The Laws of Success in 16 Lessons, written by Napoleon Hill, the author of the multi-million seller book, Think and Grow Rich. This is basically a course mentioned in 16 lessons explaining the 15 laws of success. Since we had covered all the 15 laws, so the duration is a bit longer. This course and the laws mentioned were made with a long time research. Do watch the video till the end to gain the message. Let's get started. If we go to buy merchandise, we have numerous shops with similar products and prices. But only a few shops would be famous with major part of the total sales. Why? Because people don't buy products, people buy personalities. It is the personalities behind a business which determine the measure of success the business will enjoy. One of the greatest problems of life, if not, in fact, the greatest, is that of learning the art of harmonious negotiation with others. In this book, author has discovered a new law of psychology which is the very foundation stone of all outstanding personal achievements. This law has been referred as the mastermind, meaning a mind that is developed through the harmonious cooperation of two or more people who ally themselves for the purpose of accomplishing any given task. There are 15 laws that together constitute this law of mastermind. The successful leader must possess the ability to change the color of his mind, chameleon-like, to fit every circumstance that arises in connection with the object of his leadership. Moreover, he must possess the ability to change from one mood to another without showing the slightest signs of anger or lack of self-control. He must understand the 15 laws of success and be able to put into practice any combination of these 15 laws whenever occasion demands. Without this ability no leader can be powerful, and without power no leader can long endure. Power grows out of organized knowledge, but, mind you, it grows out of it through application and use. The first law is a definite chief aim. The keynote of this entire lesson may be found in the word definite. It is most appalling to know that 95% of the people of the world are drifting aimlessly through life, without the slightest conception of the work for which they are best fitted, and with no conception whatsoever of even the need of such a thing as a definite objective toward which to strive. The man who labors without a definite purpose that is backed up by a definite plan for its attainment resembles a ship that has lost its rudder. There is a psychological as well as an economic reason for the selection of a definite chief aim in life. Let us devote our attention to the psychological side of the question first. It is a well-established principle of psychology that a person's acts are always in harmony with the dominating thoughts of his or her mind. Any definite chief aim that is deliberately fixed in the mind and held there, with the determination to realize it, finally saturates the entire subconscious mind until it automatically influences the physical action of the body toward the attainment of that purpose. Your definite chief aim in life should be selected with deliberate care, and after it has been selected it should be written out and placed where you will see it at least once a day. The psychological effect of which is to impress this purpose upon your subconscious mind so strongly that it accepts that purpose as a pattern or blueprint that will eventually dominate your activities in life and lead you, step by step, toward the attainment of the object back of that purpose. The principle of psychology through which you can impress your definite chief aim upon your subconscious mind is called autosuggestion. No undesirable environment is strong enough to hold the man or woman who understands how to apply the principle of autosuggestion in the creation of a definite chief aim. Such a person can throw off the shackles of poverty, destroy the most deadly disease germs, rise from a lowly station in life to power and plenty. Second law of success is self-confidence. This is based on the principle of autosuggestion. The development of self-confidence starts with the elimination of this demon called fear, which sits upon a man's shoulder and whispers into his ear, "You can't do it." You are afraid that you will fail. You are afraid you have not the ability. The 6 basic fears of mankind are: fear of poverty, fear of old age, fear of criticism, fear of loss of love of someone, fear of ill health and fear of death. Every human being who has reached the age of understanding is bound down, to some extent, by one or more of these 6 basic fears. These fears are inherited through physical and social heredity. As per the principle of autosuggestion, any desire that you persistently hold in your mind will eventually seek expression through some practical means of realizing it. If you fill your mind with doubt and unbelief in your ability to achieve, then the principle of autosuggestion takes this spirit of unbelief and sets it up in your subconscious mind as your dominating thought and slowly but surely draws you into the whirlpool of failure. But, if you fill your mind with radiant self-confidence, the principle of autosuggestion takes this belief and sets it up as your dominating thought and helps you master the obstacles that fall in your way until you reach the mountaintop of success. Here comes the power of habit. Habit is created by repeatedly directing one or more of the 5 senses of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting and feeling in a given direction. When any habit has been well formed, through repetition of thought or action, the mind has a tendency to attach itself to and follow the course of that habit. After habit has been well established, it will automatically control and direct our bodily activity, wherein may be found a thought that can be transformed into a powerful factor in the development of self-confidence. The thought is this: voluntarily, and by force if necessary, direct your efforts and your thoughts along a desired line until you have formed the habit that will lay hold of you, and continue, voluntarily, to direct your efforts along the same line. Here comes the 3rd law of success. The habit of saving. Millions of people go through life in poverty and want because they have made destructive use of the law of habit. Not understanding either the law of habit or the law of attraction through which like attracts like, those who remain in poverty seldom realize that they are where they are as the result of their own acts. By setting up in your mind the fear of poverty, and very soon this fear will reduce your earning capacity until you will be barely able to earn sufficient money to take care of your actual necessities. Form the habit of thinking and talking of prosperity and abundance, and very soon material evidence of these will begin to manifest itself in the nature of wider opportunity and new and unexpected opportunity. The fear of poverty is one of the most destructive of the 6 basic fears. The man who becomes hopelessly in debt is seized with this poverty fear. His ambition and self-confidence become paralyzed, and he sinks gradually into oblivion. The fear of poverty breaks down the willpower of its victims, and they then find themselves unable to restore their lost fortunes, and, what is still more sad, they lose all ambition to extricate themselves from the slavery of debt. To whip the fear of poverty, one must take 2 very definite steps, providing one is in debt. First, quit the habit of buying on credit, and follow this by gradually paying off the debts that you have already incurred. Adopt, as a part of your definite chief aim, the habit of saving a regular proportion of your income, even if this be no more than a penny a day. Very soon this habit will begin to lay hold of your mind and you will actually get joy out of saving. Keep in mind, opportunities come to those who have a habit of saving. Next comes the 4th law of success, initiative and leadership. Initiative and leadership are associated terms for the reason that leadership is essential for the attainment of success. And initiative is the very foundation upon which this necessary quality of leadership is built. Initiative is as essential to success as a hub is essential to a wagon wheel. Initiative is the pass key that opens the door to opportunity. We will now proceed to outline the exact procedure that you must follow if you are to become a person of initiative and leadership. First, you must master the habit of procrastination and eliminate it from your makeup. Second, you of course understand that the only way to get happiness is by giving it away to others. The same applies to the development of initiative. Third is to develop leadership. The brand of leadership that is recommended is the brand which leads to self-determination and freedom and self-development and enlightenment and justice. Cooperation is said to be the most important word in the English language. It plays an important part in the affairs of the home, in the relationship of man and wife, parents and children. It plays an important part in the affairs of state. So important is this principle of cooperation that no leader can become powerful or last long who does not understand and apply it in his leadership. To become a person of initiative, you must form the habit of aggressively and persistently following the object of your definite chief aim until you acquire it. Now comes the fifth law of success, imagination. Imagination is the workshop of the human mind, wherein old ideas and established facts may be reassembled into new combinations and put to new uses. You must have understood that the materials out of which you built your definite chief aim were assembled and combined in your imagination. You also know that self-confidence and initiative and leadership must be created in your imagination before they can become a reality. For it is in the workshop of your imagination that you will put the principle of autosuggestion into operation in creating these necessary qualities. The imagination is both interpretative and creative in nature. It can examine facts, concepts and ideas, and it can create new combinations and plans out of these. Any invention is the result of imagination of its developer, made it into reality. The major trouble with this world today lies in our lack of understanding of the power of imagination. For if we understood this great power, we could use it as a weapon with which to wipe out poverty and misery and injustice and persecution, and this could be done in a single generation. Your imagination belongs to you. Use it. The more you use it, the more efficiently it will serve you. Here we come to sixth law of success, enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is a state of mind that inspires and arouses one to put action into the task at hand. Enthusiasm bears the same relationship to a human being that steam does to the locomotive. The greatest leaders of men are those who know how to inspire enthusiasm in their followers. Mix enthusiasm with your work and it will not seem hard or monotonous. Some people are blessed with natural enthusiasm, while others must acquire it. The procedure through which it may be developed is simple. It begins by the doing of the work or rendering of the service which one likes best. Suggestion is the principle through which your words and your acts, and even your state of mind influence others. When your own mind is vibrating at a high rate, because it has been stimulated with enthusiasm, that vibration registers in the minds of all within its radius, and especially in the minds of those with whom you come in close contact. When a public speaker senses the feeling that his audience is en rapport with him, he merely recognizes the fact that his own enthusiasm has influenced the minds of his listeners until their minds are vibrating in harmony with his own. Here we come at the seventh law of success. It is self-control. We just become aware of enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is the vital quality that arouses you to action, while self-control is the balance wheel that directs your action so that it will build up and not tear down. The Holy Scriptures are full of admonition in support of self-control. They even urge us to love our enemies and to forgive those who injure us. If you neglect to exercise self-control, you are not only likely to injure others, but you are sure to injure yourself. No doubt all people who refuse or neglect to exercise self-control are literally turning opportunity after opportunity away without knowing it. A person with well-developed self-control does not indulge in hatred, envy, jealousy, fear, revenge, or any similar destructive emotions. A person with well-developed self-control does not go into ecstasies or become ungovernably enthusiastic over anything or anybody. Greed and selfishness and self-approval beyond the point of accurate self-analysis and appreciation of one's actual merits indicate lack of self-control in one of its most dangerous forms. Spending habit is also a lack of self-control. Before you can achieve success in the higher and broader sense, you must gain such thorough control over yourself that you will be a person of poise. You have not only the power to think, but, what is 1,000 times more important still, you have the power to control your thoughts and direct them to do your bidding. Self-control is solely a matter of thought control. Now comes the next law of success. habit of doing more than paid for. Work which one does merely for the sake of earning a living is seldom liked. More often it is disliked, or even hated. When engaged in work which he loves, a man may labor for an unbelievably long period of hours without becoming fatigued. A man's endurance, therefore, depends very largely on the extent to which he likes, dislikes or loves that which he is doing. When a man is engaged in work that he loves, it is no hardship for him to do more work and better work than that for which he is paid. And for this very reason every man owes it to himself to do his best to find the sort of work he likes best. There are two reasons for rendering such service, which transcend, in importance, all the others. Namely, first is by establishing a reputation as being a person who always renders more service and better service than that for which you are paid. You will benefit by comparison with those around you who do not render such service, and the contrast will be so noticeable that there will be keen competition for your services, no matter what your life work may be. Second is by performing more service and better service than that for which you are paid. You not only exercise your service-rendering qualities, and thereby develop skill and ability of an extraordinary sort, but you build reputation that is valuable. If you form the habit of rendering such service, you will become so adept in your work that you can command greater remuneration than those who do not perform such service. Author believes that if we are doing more than we paid for, soon we will have situations unfolding. God will move things in a mysterious way. Let's move to the next law, that is, pleasing personality. Your personality is the sum total of your characteristics and appearances which distinguish you from all others. The clothes you wear, the lines in your face, the tone of your voice, the thoughts you think, the character you have developed by those thoughts, all constitute parts of your personality. There is one way in which you can so express the composite of your personality that it will always attract, that is by taking a keen heart interest in the other fellow's game in life. We will listen with intense interest to those who have the tact to talk to us about that which lies closest to our hearts. And then, out of a sense of reciprocity, we will also listen with interest when the speaker finally switches the conversation to the subject which lies closest to his or her heart. And, at the end, we will not only sign on the dotted line, but we will say, "What a wonderful personality!" Do not consider it to be replica of cheap flattery. Cheap flattery has just the opposite effect to that of constituting an attractive personality. It repels instead of attracting. It is so shallow that even the ignorant easily detect it. This principle is very much related with imagination and cooperation blended, or coordinated to profitable ends, through the creation of usable ideas. Analyze any man who does not have a pleasing personality, and you will find lacking in that man the faculties of imagination and cooperation also. How, then, may one build character? The first step in character building is rigid self-discipline. Now here we are at the 10th law of success. Accurate thought. This is at one and the same time the most important, the most interesting and the most difficult to present lesson of this entire course. This lesson will bring you a conception of thought which may carry you far above the level to which you have risen by the evolutionary processes. Accurate thought involves two fundamentals which all who indulge in it must observe. First, to think accurately you must separate facts from mere information. Second, you must separate facts into two classes, namely, the relevant and the irrelevant. Only by so doing can you think clearly. All facts which you can use in the attainment of your definite chief aim are important and relevant. All that you cannot use are unimportant and irrelevant. Search diligently and you will discover that all such people have acquired the habit of combining and using the important facts which affect their line of work. Far from working harder than you, they are perhaps working less and with greater ease. As an accurate thinker, it is both your privilege and your duty to avail yourself of facts, even though you must go out of your way to get them. If you permit yourself to be swayed to and fro by all manner of information that comes to your attention, you will never become an accurate thinker. And if you do not think accurately, you cannot be sure of attaining the object of your definite chief aim in life. The eyes of the accurate thinker see facts, not the delusions of prejudice, hate and envy. Now here we are at 11th law of success, concentration. Let us define the word concentration, as it is here used, as follows. Concentration is the act of focusing the mind upon a given desire until ways and means for its realization have been worked out and successfully put into operation. Two important laws enter into the act of concentrating the mind on a given desire. One is the law of autosuggestion, and the other is the law of habit. Autosuggestion we had already covered in earlier lessons, so here focus shall be on the law of habit. Habit grows out of environment, out of doing the same thing in the same way over and over again, out of repetition, out of thinking the same thoughts over and over, and, when once formed, it resembles a cement block that has hardened in the mold, in that it is hard to break. When any habit has been well formed by repetition of thought or action, the mind attaches itself to and follows that habit as closely as the phonograph needle follows the groove in the wax record, no matter what may be the nature of that habit. We begin to see, therefore, the importance of selecting our environment with the greatest of care, because environment is the mental feeding ground out of which the food that goes into our minds is extracted. The term environment covers a very broad field. It consists of the books we read, the people with whom we associate, the community in which we live. The purpose of analyzing the subject of environment is to show its direct relationship to the personality we are developing, and the importance of so guarding it that its influence will give us the materials out of which we may attain our definite chief aim in life. Autosuggestion is the tool with which we dig a mental path. Concentration is the hand that holds the tool, and habit is the map or blueprint which the mental path follows. Next comes the 12th law, cooperation. Cooperation is the beginning of all organized effort. There are two forms of cooperation to which your attention will be directed in this lesson. First, the cooperation between people who group themselves together or form alliances for the purpose of attaining a given end, under the principles known as the law of the mastermind. Second, the cooperation between the conscious and the subconscious minds, which forms a reasonable hypothesis of man's ability to contact, communicate with and draw upon infinite intelligence. Our body is performing all of its operations in cooperation. Similarly, all successful businesses are conducted under some form of cooperation. The same is true in the field of industry and finance, as well as in the professional field. It is slowly becoming obvious to man that those who most efficiently apply the principle of cooperative effort survive longest, and that this principle applies from the lowest form of animal life to the highest form of human endeavor. The development of personal power is but the first step to be taken in the development of the potential power that is available through the medium of allied effort, or cooperation, which may be called group power. Analyze power, no matter where, or in what form, it may be found, and you will find organization and cooperation as the chief factors back of it. Now we are at 13th law of success, which is failure. Let us distinguish between failure and temporary defeat. Neither temporary defeat nor adversity amounts to failure in the mind of the person who looks upon it as a teacher that will teach some needed lesson. It has had the effect of tempering me with the courage to undertake tasks that I would never have begun had I been surrounded by protecting influences. Defeat is a destructive force only when it is accepted as failure. When accepted as teaching some needed lesson, it is always a blessing. Failure is nature's plan through which she hurdle jumps men of destiny and prepares them to do their work. Failure is nature's great crumble in which she burns the dross from the human heart, and so purifies the metal of the man that it can stand the test of hard usage. There can be no failure for the man who still fights on. A man has never failed until he accepts temporary defeat as failure. Fear and admission of failure are the ties which cause us to be bound in shallows and in miseries. We can break these ties and throw them off. Nay, we can turn them to advantage and make them serve as a tow line with which to pull ourselves ashore if we observe and profit by the lessons they teach. Be thankful for the defeat which men call failure, because if you can survive it and keep on trying, it gives you a chance to prove your ability to rise to the heights of achievement in your chosen field of endeavor. No one has the right to brand you as a failure except yourself. If, in a moment of despair, you should feel inclined to brand yourself as a failure, just remember those words of the wealthy philosopher, Croesus, who was advisor to Cyrus, king of the Persians. I am reminded, O king, and take this lesson to heart, that there is a wheel on which the affairs of men revolve, and its mechanism is such that it prevents any man from being always fortunate. Here comes the 14th law of success, tolerance. There are two significant features about intolerance. These features are: first, intolerance is a form of ignorance which must be mastered before any form of enduring success may be attained. It is the chief cause of all wars. It makes enemies in business and in the professions. Second, intolerance is the chief disintegrating force in the organized religions of the world, where it plays havoc with the greatest power for good there is on this earth. Let's see how it affects you, the individual. It is, of course, obvious that anything which impedes the progress of civilization stands, also, as a barrier to each individual. And, stating it conversely, anything that beclouds the mind of the individual and retards his mental, moral and spiritual development, retards, also, the progress of civilization. This intolerance is one of the major reasons behind a war. War grows out of the desire of the individual to gain advantage at the expense of his fellow men. And the smouldering embers of this desire are fanned into a flame through the grouping of these individuals who place the interests of the group above those of other groups. War cannot be stopped suddenly. It can be eliminated only by education, through the aid of the principle of subordination of the individual interests to the broader interests of the human race as a whole. Man's tendencies and activities grow out of two great forces. One is physical heredity, and the other is social heredity. Gradually men had begun to learn that the individual could survive under more favorable circumstances by allying himself with others, and out of that discovery grew our modern society, through which groups of people have formed states, and these groups, in turn, have formed nations. There is but little tendency toward warfare between the individuals of a particular group or nation, for they have learned, through the principle of social heredity, that they can best survive by subordinating the interest of the individual to that of the group. Now, the problem is to extend this principle of grouping so that the nations of the world will subordinate their individual interests to those of the human race as a whole. This can be brought about only through the principle of social heredity, by forcing upon the minds of the young of all races the fact that war is horrible and does not serve either the interest of the individual engaging in it or the group to which the individual belongs. Proceed to apply the principle of social heredity to the subject of business economy, and ascertain whether or not it can be made of practical benefit in the attainment of material wealth. Now we come to the 15th law, which is the last law of success, the golden rule. This lesson is the guiding star that will enable you to use profitably and constructively the knowledge assembled in the preceding lessons. The golden rule means, substantially, to do unto others as you would wish them to do unto you if your positions were reversed. There is an eternal law through the operation of which we reap that which we sow. When you select the rule of conduct by which you guide yourself in your transactions with others, you will be fair and just, very likely, if you know that you are setting into motion, by that selection, a power that will run its course for weal or woe in the lives of others, returning, finally, to help or to hinder you, according to its nature. This law does not stop by merely flinging back upon you your acts of injustice and unkindness toward others. It goes further than this and returns to you the results of every thought that you release. Therefore, not alone is it advisable to do unto others as you wish them to do unto you, but to avail yourself fully of the benefits of this great universal law you must think of others as you wish them to think of you. the law upon which the golden rule is based begins affecting you, either for good or evil, the moment you release a thought. When you apply the golden rule, you become, at one and the same time, both the judge and the judge, the accused and the accuser. This places one in a position in which honesty begins in one's own heart, toward oneself, and extends to all others with equal effect. Those who understand and apply the golden rule philosophy know that through the operation of this law every thought they release and every act in which they indulge has its counterpart in some fact or circumstance with which they will later be confronted. Here we shall wind up the video. We hope you like this video and will start implementing the 15 laws of success in your life and will gain by them. Hit a like, share it with your friends. Comment your feedback on our efforts. If you have not yet subscribed to this channel, do subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified about the latest updates.